Hello, hi, I'm John Catalmo from Albany Fine Arts, and welcome to day 2 of the wildlife painting class. Today we're going to cover the second process that I use, and midtones and background colors and fill in and everything else to give you general colors and idea of what you're going to do when you get to detail. And this will give us the basic structure of the painting and the animal within the painting, and give you some help later on when you do detail about what colors to use. So the colors I'm using right now, I have Tathium White, and I'm using a cadmium orange. Okay, so the cadmium orange, Tathium White, and then as a little bit of this yellow ochre, just to soften up the color a little bit. This is going to take care of those background colors. So I use a knife when I mix. I think that it's important to do it that way. You get a better quality mix when you're mixing your paints. So let me give you the basics. It's just the white, Tathium White, a little bit of the orange, and a little bit of that yellow. I mix that together, and it gives us kind of a peach color. Now, the trick with this is they're going to have 3 tones. So this is the darkest tone. You might add a little darker to it later on. This is the dark tone. This actually looks quite good. Okay. And then from that, we're going to make a lighter tone. This is our highlight. If I can get this thing to stay still. You want to get really a good amount of white in it. You want that big difference in color. There's got to be a really good difference between the lighter tone and the darker. That looks good. So then we have the lightest tone, and that's just going to be the white with just a slight amount of pink in it. And that's the 3 colors that we're going to use for that background area in the back. I would use a 3/4 inch flat. It's the best for this. And then I'm just going to cover the areas that are used in this painting, that we're covering. So you start out with the lightest color first, just to cover the area in the centers. These are background colors. They're not. It's supposed to represent light coming through, or a change of color. It's really just a random color selection. It's not any particular object. It's part of the composition. And so you're just going to fill in that area with the white. That, you can go over the lines, because these lines will be seen through. Then there's another section that does the same thing right above the ear. And just try to be careful not to get too much color over the penciling. You see how it doesn't get lost? You see the lines still. And you want to get that white in there. Now, then you want to go to the third section. Same thing. I might have used a little bit more of that clear coating, so that the paint wouldn't smear. It is smearing just a little bit. So then we're going to go to here, and then this has got some white here, and then we repeat the white over here. And that's really the first step. So you want to make sure that the paint is smooth and covers the entire area. That's most important. Really brush it out and keep a good amount of water in it when you're doing that. Then you just move to the next tone up. Make sure you keep your paper towels nearby. And just go to your next color. Now what you're going to do is blend out with the two this next color, you're going to add some pinks to the outer edges so that the center stays white and the outer edge goes to pink. You don't want a sharp line. This is all there is to painting the background of this. And if you do cover up some of the lines, it's okay. We'll take care of it at the end. It's going to be all right. That's fine. So then in here, same thing. We're going to bring that pink in. Just a little white in the center. Then we're going to move on to the next color, which is the darker pink. Now take your time, and if you need more time, just pause the tape, video. I'm old, tape. The video. Just pause the video and take care of what you need to do to finish up, and then we can go on to the next step. Okay? And I'm going to keep going. So now it's just the outer edge of that color to give it the pink, which is going to give you that faded color to white. You don't need much. Put that in. And then this one. So there should be 3 sections with the pink. So that's what you should have at this point. If you want to see up close, you can see it's really basic. You're just blending in the colors really close, you know, and you're getting that pink and white at the top. We'll go back in again later afterwards if we want to do some more touch up if it's not quite right. Fix this. Now we're going to move on. We have to put the blue coloring in. So you're always going to do the backgrounds first. There's a little bit of a whiter pink on this side, and we're going to cut right in with that to give this color here. And that's just a part of the painting and something that was there already, and just fill in this entire section with the pink. The paint dries, so it won't matter. There's blue down here, but we're going to put the pink down close to that area so the colors will blend better. Now, the blue. And it's the same process with the blue. You don't need much. And I'm using a Cerulean blue hue. Cerulean blue hue? That's the blue. And it's the same process. We're just creating a background, kind of like a blended, out of focus background is really all it is. In between colors, you want to do that second wash. Remember I said you have to have 2 jugs of water. That'll save you time. You need 2 jugs of water. That way, when I go to the second jug, I make sure that there's no amount of the other color in the brush. So now I'm going to mix that again. My knife, where did I put it? Find that. There we go. So we're going to take a little bit of this white, a little blue. We need more white. That'll be the mid-tone. And we need more white. And if you get a little bit of the other colors in this, because we had a little bit of that in that white, it's okay. It's not going to matter. You're going to be blending it together anyway. So now we want some more white. We want to make the lightest tone. But this doesn't have as much white and light tone in it. So we're going to not go as light on the light tone. I want to keep it with color. And then we want this to be a little darker, because this one is just that, and then the solid color at the top level will be fine. And then we'll have the solid color, the top color. You just got a smidge of the white in it, but not much. And that's what you should end up with, these three colors, okay, together. Just a little of the Tathium white and that blue, and you mix them, and you graduate from white to light medium blue to dark blue. And it's the same process. A little water, you start with a light. And you blend into the other colors with the blue. And I just cover the whole area with this first blue because it's going to be easier. And then I have this blue down here. I don't worry about perfection. This is a background. It's going to be faded. And you want to feather that up into the other color. And this other one here, it's right at the edge of it. There's very little of this blue. Like I said, I like to cover the entire area. I want to make sure that I don't have any issues. So I'm going to cover that whole area with this blue. And again, don't worry about going over the top of anything. And then this has kind of a fade on the edge. And that's what will hide that background. It'll make that background look like it's blurry, like you're out of focus. It gives you that out of focus feel to it when you blur it, when you blend it well. Pay attention to the edge of the canvas because when the thing is framed, sometimes you'll have a bleed. You don't want to have a bleed. Nice blending. And the last part here is this last piece. And that's over here. And this one. The other thing you can do too, if you have a problem and you don't know where those branches are, based on how long you've been working. Some people more experienced, they can't find out where they left off. You can always retrace once it's dry with carbon. And you can do that in between. So now you have your basic shapes. You might want a little bit more here. So now you have the basic shapes. Now you want to add the darker blues in. This one here, just this one side of it gets the blue, and then you just blend it in. And I like to have get a second brush, get it wet, grab the pink. So if I have too much and not enough paint on one side, I can always blend it back, and it will blend those two colors together. And still keep the richness of the pink. And that's what you really want, is that blend. So then I'm going to go back and get my pink. We're just washing these colors together. Okay? Same thing over here. Same blue. Now this gets very dark, and it goes down into this hand, the arm here, and this becomes blue, and it goes to here. This is all going to be that blue, and it'll be really dark down here. So we move that dark color in, and then even darker down below. Again, remember, we can paint over acrylic, so it's not perfect, it's okay. Then we want to go down to the next level of color and work our way up. And just blend that right in. And then to lighter color again. Then once you have that in, you just want to blend it as best you can. Then go back with the pink. And then that will hide that imperfection in between. Just go back and blend it with the other color. Remember, these are not supposed to be solid lines of color. They're supposed to be blurring. Okay. So then we're going to go back in again. Let's clean up that a little bit there. And then you have the same blue on the far end, but not quite as blue. A little pink in it too. It's always good to combine other colors. It brings everything together like it's in the same family, you know. And then we'll just kind of add some blue here. We'll get a little darker down toward the bottom. Then, again with the pink, to finish up that one side. And the pinks are supposed to be darker toward the outer edge and lighter toward the middle. Now that you have that, now you want to go back in again with white to get the highlights of that pink together so that it's going to come together really well. And I'm just using a really solid white just to kind of get that highlight in so that it's really a bright white in the centers. And also to make sure I'm not covering any lead lines or anything like that. And that's the basic, the top portion of the background. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is, oh, there's one piece I missed there. I have to fix that. You make a mistake, it's easy to fix. Don't worry about mistakes. You know, mistakes are going to happen. They happen all the time. And you can fix them. Paint back again. That is the basic background, the top portion of the background, and then there's a little bit of brown at the bottom. We're going to fill that in, and then I want to show you what we do with the body of the painting. And this is just a procedure that I use. It helps because when you're painting animal fur, you have to take into consideration that there is a great deal of covering, so you have more colors over the top, so you have to have the dark color in the background, and then you paint the lighter colors on top, and as you get closer the colors become lighter because the light is closest to the surface. So we're going to create those backgrounds. So now what do we have to do? The bottom piece here. So now what we need is that brown, And I'm going to take a little bit of this burnt umber, and I'm going to create this bottom portion, which is basically just a background, just to get it in there. And it's burnt umber and that yellow, yellow ochre, and just kind of fill it in for now. There's going to be more done to it later, so we're just kind of fill that in. Just those two colors. These wider brushes really do help you fill areas really well. You don't want to use a really narrow brush or a feather or a small line brush or something like that. You want to use a heavier brush, and you want to have something that's going to really fill the area. Ooh, left-handed. Yeah, can never get at the whole canvas. Get that out, and then get that covered. Now that we have the basics background covered, now we're going to do the background of the animal, and we're going to cover this tiger and give it some features that's going to make it stand out. And the way that I do that is with grays and whites first, and then afterwards on the next session I'll put the background colors for the fur. But this is just the fill-in portion of this, and that's what we're looking to do right now. And that is really just grays, and it depends on what you want to do. For me, grays weren't best because it keeps me thinking in tones, black and white, whatever. You know, I'm not getting too complicated, and I keep it simple. You know, just to get to the point where you know what's what and where everything is. You know? So now you want to switch to a smaller brush at this point, the chisel. This is the one that has that little angle cut at the top. You can see it if you look at it, the little angle cut at the top. That's the one you want for this, because it's going to help you get those little hair marks in and get the shape of the face in and all of that. So, just a very light gray. And a white. And so I use the light gray. Now remember, I already have that other color in the background, so I'm not going to have the canvas showing through. So all I really have to do is highlight the areas that is where the fur is going to be dark. You know, so you can see it already because I have already put this pencil line in. So it's just a matter of coloring, really. I mean, at this point. But you want to make sure that you're going to go in the direction of the fur. So you're going to use it at an angle and just kind of stroke down. And just follow each piece. And you're going to put these little strokes in. It gets better later. You know, you're going to do things as you go. But you're just going to kind of give it a little highlight and let it know where those colors are. It doesn't have to be perfect. And you just do that, and you go through each thing, and little by little you fill it in. This is not the process of doing the fur. We're just adding in a base right now, just so we know where everything is. It's more of a guide than anything else. And then the outer edge here, and here's the ear. Let's see. It comes from, I lost my lines a little bit, but we're gonna get that back. If you have trouble with that, you can always trace it again. And then there is from here. And then the other ear goes here. So we have 2 ears. That's pretty good. And then it has a thing here. And then we want to have all of the fur showing what the dark things are going to be, getting the shape. So you're just trying to get the basic shape of the animal. That's really all you're doing. You know, you're not going to be too particular about every little detail. That's really the idea. So there's and you try to get as close to it as you can. Try to stay detailed. Don't get too carried away. But this brush does really make it a lot easier. So that's the basic stuff, and then you have more fur here. And then there's that. And then we want to get the side of the animal's face here. Let's see what we have. Trying to get my other original up here so I can compare so I don't goof up. And so we're going to come out here. And it goes to here. And then it has this round part here. And then this comes in here. Just to get the line of it together. And then there's a darkness inside the tongue here. So you can see it taking shape. And then you want to kind of outline the nose a bit, just putting in those things. Now these colors are going to change, but I'm just kind of putting in the gray so I know, you know, that there's fur that comes out from here, from the tongue. And that's just basically all there is to it, and you just kind of now once you have the basic thing figured out, let's do the rest of them. You get this gray in here. And this is when you want to start doing kind of a dab. It's like a little dab. You're just creating that little dab. The thing is this is reference. Later on, I'm going to cover these areas a great deal, and then they'll be darker. So I know that this is the shoulder. It goes to here. This comes down to here. There's a little fur at the end here. And I'm just filling it in. That's all I'm doing. And then I come from here, and I'm going to just kind of do that. And I'm just creating each piece. I'm making it, you know, I'm creating the shape. That's all I'm doing. It's not that complicated. It's really simple stuff. And then there's a line that goes from here, joins with that. And that's all I do is I just kind of fill them in. I know there's going to be 3 layers of fur here. It's like an instruction, you know. And then from here I have the small round paw. The thing I don't want to do is allow the paint to come through and allow the canvas to show through, and that's what I'm trying to avoid here. Need a little more water here. We can finish up this piece. Just about here. And then that goes to here. And then there's another paw here. And then there's one that goes to here. And that's his paw. Maybe out a little bit further. that's the basic of the paw. It's not really complicated. You might want to adjust it. It's probably a little bit more here, and then it comes out a little bit more here, and then there's more here, and there you go, and then here, and that's just the basics of it, the basic shape of it. You know, I'm not worried about it being perfect. And then we have some fur that goes from here. I'm not too particular about every detail in the beginning when I start working on it. I'm not really that particular. And then there's this white fur piece that goes right to here. And that's the piece at the bottom, lower part of his body. You want to fill that in. So then, from this point, I want to determine the darkest points and the lightest points. Now I'm going to go in and use my white with just a little bit of gray, not much at all. And so that is where, you know, I'm going to kind of fill this in really rough. See how I'm just kind of dabbing it in there just to get it filled in. This is to prevent a problem in the end when you're working. You don't want to have the paint miss a point and then you have something where you didn't cover, you know. And you're just getting the hints of these shapes. You're not worried about getting it absolutely perfect. So you kind of do that and then you go through the entire thing. Now, there are more details in this, a lot more details, but this is just the preliminary stage. So then you're going to kind of come in and you're going to fill in this white, and wherever you know there is a lot of white that's going to be coming through, you just put that here because that's the light part of the nose where the light is, and we're just filling it in. We're just, as we go, you know. So now go through again, and we're just going to kind of fill in the areas that are of medium color. Like this is kind of goes to an orange here, and this also becomes orange over here. You'll have lighter colors here, and these also have some other lighter colors here. And that's going to be more white, and there's like some here, and then that's all there really is to it. That's just going on. I'm just going to keep working and let you see it, and you get it done in your own time and your own speed. I'm not doing anything outrageous here. I'm not like doing any complicated hair painting right now. I'm just filling in. It's just to fill in the thing, to give me an idea where everything goes. That's all it is. And then, let's see, we have, this comes in. And that's whiter toward the outside, and it's darker in here. And we take a little white, and we want to do something like that to show that it gets lighter. You see, and then we're just building it out. We're just going to build out that color so we can see where the lights are, and we're going to bring it brighter where it's brighter. And then we have a little brightness that comes in here. And then there's that nose. It's a little whiter there. Do that. Darken that up a bit. And then this will be white. You know, the more I paint and the more I work in art, I find that each time I find something a little bit different in each painting. And I've done this painting 4 times, and so each time it's different, and that's okay. You know, you're not going to do a painting and have it be the same. If you're working with a friend and you compare paintings, you're going to find that they're different. You know, and that's all right. That's fine. So we want to fill in as much of this as we can. We'll get these here. Then we'll add some more dark here. Darken this up. And really darken that up, because this is darker than the bottom. And then we'll add some white and create the rows. So it's like a guideline. It tells you where the colors are going to change. So right now it's just black and white values, so you don't really have anything to instruct you. So you know, it's just going to give you like a map. And it's really quick. As you can see, it doesn't take very long. You get the gist of it pretty quickly. And then as you go, you're going to fill in all the pieces. And so these will all get, you're going to fill this in as best you can, kind of get your areas. You want to cover up anything that was from before. So we want to show the depths where things have shadow, you know, and bring out the things that don't. So it's going to be darker here, coming into this part. So it brings out the nose, and then when you put in the white, it will highlight that area. So you want to kind of blend that in. And then the tongue and everything, what I did in this to help me to get to the next stage is I always prepare myself with just a little bit of color. So I add a little bit of that orange into the white again, and I use that orange and the white to fill in areas that are going to be a different color. Like the tongue is going to be a specific color, but it's pretty close to what I'm doing here. It just helps me to outline and give more shape. Helps me tell the story of this lovely little guy right here. And then you know the nose is the next piece of work. You're going to want to switch to a smaller brush, and that's where this little brush comes in handy. A little rounded brush, you know, not the fine lines, a little rounded brush. The fine lines for later for detail. And it's the same thing. I'm just going to grab some pink. There's black that's going to be used that's going to really bring it out in the shape. But right now we just want to fill in that area. And there it goes down to here, and that's filled in. And then the eyes. We're just going to kind of put some pink in the eye just so we know where they are. And that's the basics of this painting. The basic structure of the painting, the basic fills. There's a bit more involved. Let me fix a couple of things. So remember, it doesn't have to be perfect because this is just instructional, you know. And you want to remember your lighting, okay? So right in this painting, the lighting is coming from this side, you know. You're getting the light from this side. So you have to put your light highlights on that gray on the outside. You're showing where that is. You're giving instruction to it. You see, you're letting the canvas tell you a little story, really. So there's light at the top of the ear. And there's some light that comes off the ear here. It shows some fur. And then it gets darker down at the bottom. It shows the entrance to the ear, where the ear opening is. So then you fill this in with the dark. And then you want to have, there's a little bit of hair that goes here. And this one, there's dark here. And then you want to put some light on top of it. And then the light. Then there's more fur, white fur that shows up, that gives the distinction of the side of the ear. And that's what you really need to show that. You don't really need to do too much. And there's a little white fur that goes on the side here. And we want to really distinguish that eye. Because there's There's white here. And here. So that's the basis for it, and then you want to try and fix it. So then once you have the basis in there, you know, there's darker stuff here. Once you have the base in, once this dries, you can start your other colors, adding your colors, and it's going to really be much easier. We have that's really pretty much everything that I need to do to give me the instruction. Then there's this little bit here. So there's a point here. But then, let's see. You know, the next step is going to take us to that final level, and that will bring us to more details where we can get to a point where we reach a final painting. So there's a lot more work here. There's fine line work, and there's black work, and touch up, and little details that you have to do. And that will come into the next one, and we'll get into the details and then adding color in the next video. But this is just the basis to get you started to move on to the next level. And I hope you enjoyed this session. If you have any questions or you get lost, please feel free to send me an email. And thanks for taking this time with me. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. The wildlife class, the third class, is going to be next. Feel free to take time in between and practice what you've done here, what you've seen, and mixing the colors and all of that. And thank you very much. We'll see you in the next class.